Lads and ladies, Roy Liver here back with another MFL tactics video ahead of the new MFL season kicking off this coming week. But hopefully if we can make this tactic work, it can become a timeless asset in the MFL universe on our way to many, many promotions. That's the dream, of course. And I think most soccer fans that are watching will be well aware that Rúben Amorim's tactics failed at Manchester United. I think that's probably fair to say. So our aim today is to replicate these in MFL and try and fix them. So first things first, on the MFL tactics page is our choice of formation, which I guess seems an odd thing to discuss considering we're replicating Amorim's 3-4-3 formation. Hint there that the formation is in the name and the title of the video. But with Amorim's tactics, the wingers actually tend to act more as narrow forwards, so more akin to a 3-4-2-1 formation, which is an option here in MFL. But perhaps where Amorim went wrong at United was trying to fit square pegs into round holes, and we aren't falling for that trap here. And what I mean by this is that if we look at the players available in my squad, we can see I rely on wingers as opposed to centre forwards, so my setup is much more suited for the 3-4-3 formation. We can see my highest rated player here is Conway. Now he's a big attacking threat for us, so it would be almost negligent to force him into a centre forward role when the tactic will translate roughly the same using wide players. But then there is also the choice of playing this tactic with wide midfielders or actual wing backs. And this is the difference between the 3-4-3 formation and the 5-2-3 formation in the game MFL, having either wide midfielders or wide wing backs. And we're going to go for the latter here for one big reason when it comes to MFL player instructions. If we look here on a blank left wing back with no predetermined player instruction set, we can see there's an in possession option to set a more offensive attacking tendency, which is what we want. But there is then no out of possession option to set them to act highly defensively at the same time, or even a work rate option to set them as energetic. Which I think would be a great addition to the game, by the way, if they could code in a work rate player instruction for individual players. But as it is, my fear in going with the regular 3-4-3 formation is that the wide midfielders will sit too high up the pitch and they won't work back enough naturally when defending, as their base position, is higher up the middle of the pitch than at the back. Makes sense. Hence why, to get the most out of this tactic and best attempt to replicate Amorim's setup, we are opting for the wing-back formation of 5-2-3, which today, for all intensive purposes, is effectively acting as a glorified 3-4-3 formation. So semantics and pedantics out the way, let's look at team instructions where, funnily enough, for a team operating with a lot of wide players, we're actually setting our attacking width to be very narrow, keeping on theme with Amorim's 3-4-3 tactics, where the wingers almost operate as centre forwards behind the main striker. And we're going to go attacking here to try and force the play going forward, where we're more keen on utilising the wing backs to get crosses in or allow the wingers themselves to drift inside, keeping our shooting closer to the goal to carve out better chances. And then out of possession, the team retreats into a low defensive block where we almost want the backline to function as a flat 5 to really give the opponents no space to breathe when combined with the compactness of the midfield. So looking at individual player instructions next then, and starting with the keeper, there's nothing to report here, simply playing on team instructions both in and out of possession. So moving on to our backline in the form of the 3 centre backs, and as a formation primarily focused on the wing backs getting forward and joining the attack, it means a lot of counter-attacking and defensive play will come from the left and right centre-back spots, and that's where I've replicated instructions across these two positions. We're still going to want controlled passing lanes from each side of the back 3, but then there's freedom for these wide centre-backs to free roam a bit more and almost link up in terms of passing triangles with the wing-backs and midfielders. Now, to counterbalance some potential drawbacks of being found wanting out of position a bit more often, these centre-backs are set to high trigger pressing off the ball to ensure they work hard to win possession back on any turnovers, and also assist them with settling into some semblance of defensive shape. As for the central centre-back, they are to act as more of a cover option, essentially the last man, the last line of defence, the anchor at the back, holding everything together. And we can see this reflected in their individual player instructions, where essentially all of the personality has been sapped out of the player. I want no dribbling, no getting forward, no stepping out of position. Simply play the ball to a wide centre-back when you have the ball in possession and tackle hard when you don't. It's really that simple. Now, the wing-backs themselves, I've mentioned them many times, and they are set to be a key factor in any success of this formation. And a big part of that is them joining every attack as a wide outlet, utilizing dribbling and crossing to create more attacks, basically acting as wingers when moving forward into the opponent's final third. Now in MFL currently it's difficult to set these wingbacks to play wide while setting our actual wingers to play narrow as Amorim likes it. There's only a wholesale team option for width as we've seen in the team instructions, and not individual player width options, so we can't specifically tailor that with this tactic, so we just have to hope that this translates across an MFL match days. And this is where we hope the wingbacks can provide an ample supporting option to the actual wingers during attacks, almost as overlapping fullbacks, naturally allowing the wingers themselves more freedom to drift into the centre of the pitch and in effort replicate what Amorim will be going for. And this is where if we look at the wingers, we've given them positional freedom to hopefully force that effect, meaning they can roam and link up with the striker more often through the middle of the pitch, even allowing a high turnover of possession wins high up the pitch as well to punish teams that are slow to break us on the counter. The striker himself then is pretty simple, if I say so myself. We just want aggressive pressing and tackling for reasons just mentioned to facilitate an overload at the top end of the pitch, meaning our wingbacks combined with our wingers and striker will operate as an attacking front five. Heading over to the midfield then, and this is where we want the stability of the team to lie, with one box-to-box midfielder and one holding midfielder. Now in my team I have the perfect midfield pairing for this tactic, Scotty May as the holding midfielder, in essence the keep it simple stupid role of the team, where his stats perfectly allow him to operate here, as you know he's fairly solid across the board when we look at him. Again, similar to the central centre back, we've killed his creativity here to some degree, but he is still nonetheless a key pivot in this midfield duo to sit in front of the back line and behind the attack, snuff out any counters and shore it all up in the middle of the pitch. Looking at the box-to-box midfielder then, and they have a lot more juice to offer in their play, so to speak, where here they are able to utilise some riskier passing lanes. They go forward a bit more and join the attack more often with creative license. They're a bit more of a playmaker to sit in between the midfield and that front five that we're looking at utilising. So we certainly hope this tactic can be successful this coming season on MFL, and if you haven't already joined yet but are looking at doing so, now is a great time to do so. And And basically what I mean by this, regardless of when you're watching this video, it's never a bad time to dive on into MFL, and you can do so using my referral link in the description down below, and I'll see you out there on the MFL streets. Now in terms of my squad and how my players currently fit into this Amorim 3-4-3 tactic, and we certainly have some weaknesses to tidy up before the season starts. An improved right winger to create a very strong attack in the Ice League could go a long way. A solid backup centre midfield option, as unfortunately if either Shaw or May need a rest, then the replacement gets a lot weaker with what I currently have. And honestly, the backline as a whole could do with a little facelift, right? Of course, getting some natural wing-backs is going to be a priority for this side. Holden and Cook can do a job, but they aren't natural at the wing-back role. We have to keep in mind Holden and Cook can also drop in at centre-back when required, so they're certainly going to get a lot of rotation there. In terms of the centre-backs themselves, I'm happy with Nicholson at right centre-back, as he has a decent passing stat out of all of my options, but I may look to improve upon the other two centre-back slots. Maybe even adding a stronger goalkeeper to the lineup as well. We can't rule that out before the season starts. Now, a majority of these improvements are planned to be made via the loan market for next season. I recently made a video on the best methods to utilise the loan market, so do check that one out if you haven't already. And like and subscribe to catch next week's video, where we find out who I have procured from said loan market ready for next season. And I'll catch you then, because I love you.